Thanks for watching The Personal History of Games. I'm your host, Eric Canius, and this week's guest is my good gaming friend, Gino Grieco. When he's not playing Final Fantasy, you can find him writing about it professionally all over the web, but for now, we talk lore, college experiences, and apple picking while playing Final Fantasy IX for the PlayStation 1. Here's that conversation.
Ooh.
All right, if these names mean anything to you, let me know. El Castle.
I know where El Castle is.
Dane's Horse Basin.
I know where that's on the world map. El Castle is Limblum Castle, 4 hours in. I don't know where. That might be a cool scene. Disc 2 starts a little weird. It gets hot real fast, but it like the parties get separated, and then you get to one group is doing one adventure, the other group's doing the other, and so it cuts to the less actiony half of it.
Fun. Good fun choices. Well, if this is on the world map, why don't we go here and then we can wander around a bit. How often have you replayed this game?
I've played it at least like 7-8 times.
Whoa. How long does it take you to beat it?
So I can speedrun this game. So I played a bunch of it just for speedrunning purposes to train and know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So it takes me roughly, I would say 13, 14 hours to beat it.
I assume that's fast.
I'm not like world record holder level fast.
That's got to be better than average though.
Yeah. So like there's a weapon in this game called Excalibur 2 that you can only get if you get to the second. There's an Excalibur and also Excalibur 2. And you can get to that if you get to like the last section of the game within about, I think the time limit's 12 hours.
Oh.
Yeah. This part of the game is some stuff pops off.
I'll wander around. If you want to point me in directions, you can, but also it's fine if we just meander about. It's not the end of the world.
That town you were just in front of, I think, is where you want to go.
Okay. I will head back there after I beat these skeletons to a pulp as I'm level 99 with it.
Why is your MP slowly decreasing? Oh, there we go.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you've got late game weapons. This is messed up.
I don't know how they did this, but it's fine. For the folks watching, I just found a save online to load for this game.
VV, when your black mage is one-shotting people with his stupid little staff, it says something's messed up.
Phoenix Down. Did you know all along that Phoenix Down was relating to the down of a bird?
No,
okay,
I didn't.
Good. I'm glad
I assumed that it was
everyone else.
Oh, wait, go in there. That little gate.
Yeah.
So, fun fact about this game, there's a series of gates that kind of connect the major continents or the major kingdoms on the starting continent. And if you go into these gates, you can kind of get a sense of what's going on between the different countries.
Oh.
Like some of the gates are abandoned, some of them here, obviously there's a war on. So all of a sudden there's a war between two of the nations. So if you go to this gate, it's like, oh, stuff's bad here.
Well, that's fun. All right, so to get into it, what made you pick Final Fantasy IX for this episode?
So Final Fantasy IX is my favorite game ever by a pretty wide margin. The first game I ever saw was Final Fantasy VII. I was over a friend's house, and my friend told me, come over here. Let's go to my PlayStation. We're going to play PlayStation. And I was like, that's a really pretentious name for your toy room, but okay. And they basically said, no, it's not the toy room. It's this thing. And he turned it on, and it was middle of the game. I think like Midgar FF7, so like early FF7. I saw the Hell House, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So from there, I wanted a PlayStation. I wanted to get a video game console. One of my first games I got was Final Fantasy VIII, And that game is really perfect if you're just a young kid, because the main character is basically a child for most of it. And I don't mean that in that he is an actual child. He's supposed to be 18, but he just behaves like a very conceited child. Like, the world's, why should I care about anyone if they're just going to leave me eventually? I should, people, caring about other people? Ugh, gross. Who would want to do that? But it had pretty realistic graphics for like PS1 era. Like the people look like people.
Right, they're all tall. See, I saw that game too. I played Final Fantasy VII and then saw my friend play Final Fantasy VIII, and I was like, why are they so stretched out? Because I'm used to characters like this where they're all like squat and dunky.
Yeah, so because my first exposure really was to 8, like I saw some of 7, but 8 just looked so impressive. When I got 9, like a year or two later, my grandma got it for me for Christmas, I believe. I thought this game was for babies because these characters look like cartoons. And so I didn't fully appreciate it. And also, like, 8 has this kind of wide open combat system that's really different, and 9 felt a little bit more on rails because it's kind of a throwback to the older, like, NES and Super NES Final Fantasies. Like, all the characters are job archetypes with little twists. So I bounced off of it. I didn't actually complete this game until I was in high school. And when I came back to it, like, I went in skeptical. I was like, well, I never really gave 9 a chance. Let me see how 9 holds up. And it turns out this game is very much about exploring the just inexorable dread of mortality in a lot of ways. There's a lot of very kind of dire conflicts between nations. And the game's, unlike some of the other games in the series, it's not very bleak in its depiction of all these things. Like, characters deal with very difficult, very harsh situations with a smile and with a positive attitude, which I was not used to in a specific way. And one of the main characters, Vivi, the little black mage, his story is just really striking. Like the scene we're looking at right here is one of your characters coming back to her hometown that's been sacked by an army, and it's just dead people on the ground everywhere. Like it's heavy very quickly. It goes from cartoonish, like the main villain is very Shakespearean, to just like magical depictions of WMDs and stuff. Like within 2-3 hours of the game starting, you find out that Vivi's not a regular person. He's like an artificial being created to make war who just happened to snap out of it and gain sentience.
Oh.
So his whole storyline just really grabbed me. So he starts out as just kind of a kid who's wandering around, and you find out he's artificially made, and then within a few hours after that, you find out that his entire like race of people, who you just killed 2 of them, by the way.
Yes.
His entire race, the black mages, they were made as tools of war. They were created to kill people, and so they were not created to live meaningful lives or long lives. So he's basically, I think, 6 months old when the game starts, and he's like, most of his people die at a year.
Oh.
And he finds out that pretty early on. You go to a graveyard in an entire village of black mages like him, and they're like, yeah, it turns out we just stop moving sometimes, and we don't know why. And then everyone else around them's like, stop moving, do you mean you die? And they're like, we don't really know what death even is, because no one really teaches us anything. But yeah, that's what we're dealing with. And at the time when I was playing this game, my mom was very sick, and she was dealing with some really bad cancer at the time. And so seeing a main character who basically has a death sentence on him, who sees it coming, it just really struck me. Mm-hmm. And his whole attitude of like how the game depicts it and how it handles that situation, I think is pretty nuanced, especially for the era. Like, games didn't deal with this sort of stuff all that often.
No, not at all.
So it's pretty striking. Like, there's just some scenes where like Vivi understands that he's going to die, and all of his other people, all the other black mages do not, because they haven't spent time with people who know things about the world. They've only been spending time with each other. And so he just has to tell them, like, yeah, you're not going to make it at some point. If you had walked there, you could have gotten that treasure chest.
I don't know how to walk.
Yeah.
Nope.
But yeah, like you get a lot of scenes like that where he just kind of learns about life. And the game just like, it ends with his death of natural causes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's supposed to be like 5, like emotionally, like a 5 or a 6-year-old. So yeah, this game really struck me from that. And just having the lighthearted spirit at the same time, like not really trampling. Usually, especially even now, like games tend to be grim or they're going to be fun and lighthearted. They don't usually deal with serious topics and have a nice lighthearted vibe about them.
Definitely. Yeah, there's something about video games where they are not able to deal with like the realities of living in a not a glib way, just a way that is not just dour and being down about it, of like, death is sad, so we have to be sad.
Yeah.
And not like, this is how we live through it, like a good place or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I found really striking, is that like this game manages to have the hard conversations without crowding out the fun moments. You know? Like one of your characters, look at Quina is a giant goofball with some sort of chef's hat, a giant floppy tongue, and her power is to eat people.
Fun. I'm glad they fit Vor into it.
Yeah, that's how you get blue magic. You eat stuff and then you get stronger. But yeah, a lot of the main characters really have great storylines. Like, you know, Freya, the dragoon you got there, she's like, you meet her, come to her place, you find like her entire civilization devastated. The person who she loved has amnesia and can't remember that she existed. And so she's just like, well, I've got to live my life knowing that this person who I care about deeply doesn't know who I am.
Jeez.
Yeah. But she doesn't have a bad attitude about it, all things considered.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have those, something in the media, especially just to not necessarily guide you, but just be an example of something different, a different way of dealing with these heavy topics.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that there's not, especially at that time, there just wasn't a lot of media that addressed these topics that much at all that weren't targeted at adults.
Yeah.
And so just having a game like this that approached those topics in an approachable way, in a kid-friendly way, but didn't shy away from some of these more savage things about life, it really resonated with me. And another cool thing about this game is that it actually has multiplayer, kind of.
Right.
So in the menu, you could actually set it to 2-player mode, and you can have a second player just, you know, pick one of the characters and use them. And that, on a long RPG, like, they barely ever do it. And it's not like the most extravagant multiplayer, but it exists.
Yeah, that's weird. Because Robin was doing fun facts for the game for our social media and found that there was a multiplayer thing that seemed really interesting, and that wasn't like advertised at all. Oh,
yeah, it's just in there. Like, I found it in the menus by accident.
Yeah.
But it meant that I could sometimes play with my sister, or, you know, if I had a friend over, I could pass them a controller. And for a 40-hour game, like, these games tend to be very lonely.
Yes.
You know, you're playing unless you have someone else who's down to sit down and watch you play. So just having that option, I thought was very cool.
That's a fun way to add into it to, yes, exactly, give you someone to play with, or if you give the opportunity to play with someone, so it's not this lonely adventure, because it is a party. You can have a party in real life as you adventure together.
Yeah, it's behind that. You got to go behind there.
How?
Behind on the right. It's fine. You got to kill these. I forget what these weird bug-eyed things are called, but just got to keep murdering them.
Easy. Can do. Around what age was this all playing this game? You said in high school?
So I think I first played it probably when I was around 10, and then I revisited probably around 14.
Okay, jeez. I feel like I was playing, because I did play this game when it came out, and I don't remember anything about it, and I don't remember getting any of those themes. So,
Yeah, so some of those themes, depending on how far in you got, they really present themselves in like the second disc more. But like, there's a lot of really cool winks and nods to the world building here. You got the bell, you're good. You can leave.
oh, thank you.
No problem.
Oh,
So like, you can actually, there's a town very early on where you find out that Vivi's artificially made. It's a farming town that has a secret. And the secret is that they make black mages. They make soldiers of war in the basement of this little farming village. And they basically got into making weapons of mass destruction and arms dealing because farming was too hard and their farms weren't doing well. And so they gave up on farming. They're like, no, we're going to go into weapons manufacturing instead.
That's a pretty easy A to B to C. If you're a farmer, you can make...
Yeah, easy.
You can make black mages for war.
Yeah. Instead of turnips, you do that. So when you go there the first time, there's just kids. It's basically an abandoned town except for some kids, a person running a shop who's also a kid. There's a kid running the bar, and there's one dude asleep in the inn. And that's it. Like, those are the only people in town. And everyone's like, where are all the adults? And you can keep coming back to that town throughout the game, and it changes depending on the circumstances of the war. So, like, the first time you show up, no one's there. The second time you show up, the war is even more expansive. So you can just, like, see them producing stuff. Like, there's way more activity. If you come back later on when the war ends, they start going back to farming.
Oh.
And they're trying to figure it out again. And then if you come back in like the very last disc, like they are under full swing. And like the people who said we shouldn't get into arms dealing are like, finally, people have come to their senses.
That's fun.
They're working the fields. So like there's a lot of little nods like that throughout this game of like the world feeling more alive than some other RPGs. Usually early on, or in most RPGs of this era, a town kind of has its storyline, and then once you leave, it's done.
Right.
And this game actually keeps revisiting the same places and the same people over and over and over again. Each of the main villages kind of has those sorts of arcs to them. And it was just a level of attention to detail that I found really impressive. Like 8 doesn't do this, 7 doesn't do this either.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all basically one and done with their locations. But yeah, the main kingdoms like Alexandria, you visit in the very beginning of the game. You come back to it later on 2 or 3 times. Lindblom, you come to it. It's kind of a New York or a London, like a big theater district and everything.
Ooh.
Then you come back to it a little bit later and it gets attacked. The whole place is devastated after they're attacked by black mages and by a horrifying summon that like sucks a bunch of their soldiers into the sky. Yeah, you see these people kind of in a shell shock after kind of this big weapon of mass destruction attack on their town. And also as a kid who grew up in New York, like seeing a bunch of towns kind of recovering from major catastrophes.
Right.
You know, as a kid of the early, you know, who lived through 9/11 in New York, like a game that just repeatedly shows those sorts of things happening to towns and seeing the way that people react to it.
Yeah.
It resonated in a way.
Jeez. Seems like this game hit you at the perfect time for a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, like depending on how far you get in here, there's a town that's like, well, this Bermesia, obviously, completely, you're just finding dead people everywhere. The next town you go to is a big tree where everyone who didn't die here retreated to, and then it gets nuked.
Oh.
But like a big, like Odin, you know, Final Fantasy Odin, like flies in out of the clouds, throws a giant javelin down and blows it up, and there's a mushroom cloud.
Why?
Because one of the queen of one of the nations on this continent, her husband passed away, and when he died, an advisor got into her ear and told her that, you know, the other nations are going to rise up and destroy you. You need to stop them by buying my weapons and going to war before they destroy you. And so she, you know, driven mad. Got to save this guy. Got to save Dan. Yeah, sorry, Cal.
Yeah,
This
his name's
dude,
Cal.
if you save him, Cal and Wei, you can find them in another city, and they'll have kids, and they'll name one of them after you.
Aw. How adorable. How was I to not save him? I didn't have a choice.
I think you can go around. You can just, because the actual path
Oh.
forward is kind of up and left.
That's where I went. Oh, I can keep going left. Oops. Well, lucky them.
Yep. But there's a lot of little scenes like that. Like there's in Limblum, the town with all the theaters, there's a dude who he's an actor named Lowell, and you can see him and his fan club, like him getting mobbed by fans. Come back, and his play moves along, and he's bigger and bigger. He's like, I need to find a new place to act, and you can eventually send him to another town because one of your friends opened up a theater.
That's fun. This game,
Yeah.
Yes, there seems to be a lot of depth in this game. I can see why it would attract you in a way other games wouldn't.
Vivi and Quina have a weird story because Vivi was raised by one of Quina's people, and so you can go to a location where Vivi grew up, and like a ghost comes back and talks to him. Like a lot of cool little things, and like a lot of these areas are not required in any way.
Mm-hmm.
This game also has a pretty neat. I find it neat. Some people find it not so great. It has a cool cutscene system, the ATE system. It was really unique for this game. You can basically opt into cutscenes in some cases.
Oh.
And the cutscenes for the ATE system tend to be stuff that's going on in other parts of the world.
Oh.
So like, hey, do you want to know what's going on with these people who aren't with you right now? What's going on in Limblum with the king? What's going on with Dagger? She's in another party right now, so maybe she's up to no good or something. Who knows?
Cool. Are you big into fiction of stuff? Is there other like book series or TV or whatever that you get way into?
Yeah, I'm an all or nothing sort of person. So I tend to go pretty deep on any of the things I delve into.
I can see that.
So like the FF series, I'm playing through all of them. I was a Game of Thrones person for a bit, at least the show, and then the last season was garbage. So it's amazing how fast that entire series was memory hold.
Yeah.
Like entire sites were propped up by the existence of that show, and now it's like it never happens.
It's true. They really done dirty with that last season, and it destroyed a lot of stuff in its wake.
The Game of Thrones economy. How can you do that? What's going to keep IGN running now?
Gotta wait for the next TV show. Nothing's replaced it yet, though.
Yep.
All right, so you're saying you didn't have any video games before, or didn't like interact with video games before Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, so I didn't interact with any games till I was like 7 or 8. And that was just mostly because like my parents were not very tech savvy, and like as a fairly insular Italian American family, like if we didn't know too many people who had video games, like they were not really exposed to them.
Right.
My cousin had a Sega Genesis, but I did not really play with it until after I had played a PlayStation. But I did get to play Streets of Rage. That game's real good.
It's very interesting to start with PS1.
Yeah, I just didn't. Like, I spent a lot of time with family members. Like, we are a big family, so it's not like I was that sheltered. But until like pre-kindergarten or first grade, I wasn't necessarily going over other people's houses all the time.
Fair.
And playing, especially not playing video games.
Yes, you go to have big meals. Is that
Yes.
what it
Yep, big meals.
Sorry for stereotyping.
It's fine. Big meals, lots of talking.
Yeah.
Lots of talking with your hands, Italian things.
Of course. So, what came after Final Fantasy IX? After it took up so much of your mind space.
So 9, I replayed it on a PS3. So by that time I think, like I had been playing Mass Effect a lot. Psychonauts was a big one on my 360.
Right.
That game's dope.
Another well-written story game.
Yep, got into Dragon Age Origins. Don't replay that game. I replayed it like a week or two ago, and
What?
Podcast reasons.
Okay, fair. I mean, it'll make us do a lot of things.
Yeah, podcast reasons. I had to play it. So replaying that game, it doesn't hold up so good. But yeah, by that time I was playing games a lot more and more seriously. Got into gaming sites and stuff like that. So like played some Gears of War, played some modern appropriate games at that time. Halo 3.
Yeah, so you just went in hard.
Yep, went in hard from there. Tried to play it like around this time. JRPGs dried up for the most part, so I got into the Western role-playing games because BioWare was making good games and Square Enix wasn't.
Yeah, you needed something with a lot of dialogue and stuff to read.
Exactly.
Did anything come close to like this? Mass Effect's Codex or anything?
I mean, Mass Effect, the thing with Mass Effect and its codex is that I like being able to experience the story by moving around the world and stumbling into these scenes. I don't like reading journal entries, generally speaking.
Fair.
And so I never got into the lore of Mass Effect as seriously as I got into FF9, 10. 12 I never got into super hard because 12 is kind of a miserable game to play. I don't know if you've ever played 12. It's hard to replay. They thought that people really like WoW, and so they should make a game that kind of plays like WoW.
Weird.
Or, like an MMO, but it's single player.
Right.
And that's just, you don't want to, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I think I skipped 12. I played up to 10 was probably the last one I played a little bit of.
Yeah, 10's really good. 12, like, the story's really good in 12, but everything in between story bits is not good. 13 is one of the worst games I've ever played.
Like, overall, not just Final Fantasy?
Oh, not just Final Fantasy. 13's truly just bad.
What makes you say that?
So, two things. One, it plays itself. Like, you need to press auto battle to be able to like keep up because the game is supposed to be like real timey. It's supposed to be action based.
Yes.
So you just hit auto battle and your characters will pick their abilities, which means that you're mostly just like mashing the X button. And then occasionally you swap, like your characters can swap jobs basically. So what you're doing is less like figuring out how you want to approach combat and more managing the combat as though you are a local manager at a CVS or something. You're like, you're doing too much stocking of the shelves. We need you to be working register. But it's that just constantly. Like, the enemy's going to do a big attack. Everyone go on defense. Okay, now they're not. So we need to go on to buffing or debuffing. It just feels like spinning plates while mashing the X button. That was the first and only game where when I was in college, I had a friend who like walked by. I had my dorm room open, and they walked by and said, "Oh, is that at Final Fantasy 13? That's that new game." I was like, "Yeah, you want to play it?" And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna let me play it? Sure." And I gave him the controller, and I was like, "Yeah, you just mash the X button and walk in a straight line. Don't worry about it. Like if there's a treasure chest, you pick it up. Otherwise, you just walk in a straight line. You press the X button." After about 5 or 10 minutes, he went, "Did you make me play this because you don't want to play this?" And I was like, "Yep, thank you. I made progress without having to play it." And then the second problem with 13 is that the story's miserable. Just completely indecipherable. Like characters doing things that are clearly wrong, they know are bad and know won't work out for them. Like, where the story's going, maybe 5 hours into it, and it takes 40 to get there.
Ooh. Woof. Hey folks, if you're enjoying this podcast, Bean Media has another podcast I think you'll love. It's called Do We Like, and I co-host it along with my partner Robin. Robin, do you want to explain the show?
Thanks, Eric. Hi, I'm Robin, co-host of Do We Like, a podcast where Eric and I debate common people, places, and things to decide if we like them or need to leave them. Join us each week as we debate controversial topics like pickles, underwear, bubble tea, and Queen Elizabeth I? Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, or come find us at dowelike.com.
That just reminded me of living in dorms. I only did it for a few months, but yeah, doing the door open thing and playing a video game. I think I was playing, what the hell was it called? It was an RTS game for the PC, and I was playing it, and then some random person was just like, "What's up?" And then like came into the room and sat there for like 5 minutes at most, and was like, "All right, see you later." Because I was playing some like weird esoteric game. It was not StarCraft. It was like War or something. I forget the name of it. It was not popular.
War something.
Yes, pretty much. But that is not the point. The point is having your door open during the dorm time was like, especially as like a nerdy gamer, it was weird. I don't know. Growing up at home and having siblings, you always want the door closed, and now you're at this place, you want strangers to walk into your room. It's very weird.
Yeah, I remember when I first moved into my dorm, my roommate actually did not know what to... So we had only corresponded slightly on Facebook, and my Facebook profile picture at the time, I was very cool, so it was
VV?
me. No, it was of me in a hot tub, I think it was like from a school ski trip or something.
Yeah.
And so there was a picture of me, and I think I don't know if there were girls. It was... And I was from New York, and my roommate was from Virginia, and his impression was like, oh no, it's this New York Italian guy. He's going to be weird, like this big man on campus sort of guy.
Yep.
And he came in to our dorm when he was moving in, and I was playing Street Fighter with my sister. And he's like, oh, okay, this is going to work out okay.
Well, that's good. It's like, I need extra room for my gold chains.
Yeah. I was like, no, I need to do this Dragon Punch way better. I'm fucking this up.
That's fun. See, I never had a roommate. What's that roommate experience like? It seems so weird. Like, you're 17, 18, whatever, and now you're just living with a stranger. It seems like it's such a crapshoot.
Yeah, it can be. I had a good roommate. I always had good roommates. Like, my first roommate, we're still good friends. It was a, like, living situation where everyone who was living in that dorm was part of the same class. So I was in a debate club class.
Oh, no.
No, but there's a good... So the dude who ran the class was like the head of the debate team. And he found out that the debate team was getting discontinued and that he was getting fired midway through the class.
Whoa.
And so at that point, he just said, you're all getting A's. Do whatever you want.
Sweet.
Yeah, I didn't have to do anything. I went to one debate event, did okay, and then got an A. It was awesome.
Sweet. What school did you go to? It sounds chaotic.
It was the University of Richmond in Virginia, but it was not... the school, other than that circumstance, was fairly, put together. It's a good school. It was just
stuff happens.
Very much a guy just like... You're going to keep the football team and cut the debate team? It's like, yeah, of course we are.
Has he not lived on planet Earth?
Yeah, of course. Obviously. 12 times. We would do this.
Has he not seen a movie from the 80s about college?
We're actively building a stadium for the football team, and...
I thought that was the debate stadium.
Yeah. Why aren't you letting us use the Greek amphitheater?
Come on. These are debates. That's funny.
Yeah, policy debate is a wild thing. Have you ever seen policy debate?
No.
Oh, way to go. What a champion.
Is this like theoretical policy debate in college or like actual policy debate in
theoretical
towns?
In college? So that was the style of debate. So we learned, like, when they were prepping us for our first debate thing, the way that you're judged on those is basically how many arguments can you put out and how many of them can you rebut from your opponent. And so the volume of arguments you're making is directly correlated with your score.
Uh-huh.
So if you can make more arguments in your time, then it's harder for your opponent to rebut as many of them or make good arguments of their own. So the way to actually do policy debate properly is something called the spread. You speak incredibly quickly. Like, people practice being able to say words on the out breath and the in breath so that they can just have the most arguments at any given time.
Wait, what? So you're speaking while breathing in? It's like a didgeridoo? You're doing circular breathing?
And then...
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun.
It was miserable. We saw that, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to get into this then. I think you have to talk to Steiner
Who is
to
Steiner?
advance the game. the night.
Oh, I thought I just did. Okay. Thank you. I was just about to ask, but I'm
No problem.
Okay. Is there like an end goal? Did people go into debate club to be debaters? I guess politics, but
Yeah. Some people use it as a stepping stone for politics. Some people do it, I don't know.
for the thrill of the fights.
Why does anyone do anything competitive? To be better than people, to have
It's true.
their name in lights.
Are you not a competitive person? I guess you joined
I'm a
debate
very
club.
competitive person.
Okay, there you go.
So I like the idea of it. But once I realized that like the game is rigged, it's not about actually trying to make an eloquent speech or convince anyone. It's to express as many ideas as you can, and hope that your opponent screws up in their notes or their prep. Also their prep, because you need to like research the topic and have citations and stuff so that you can argue it properly. So like 90% of the work is just prep and research. I was like, well, that's not fun. Nothing about that's fun.
What did you think? It was just me off the top of your head?
Yeah, off the dome.
Well, that's not a podcast with me and my wife called Do We Like? Go listen to it. I'm sneaking in a plug there. Anyways.
Way to go. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it was not what I expected it to be, but it was a
No
fun
kidding.
time. The one time I did it.
That's so wild. Never heard of this before, but I didn't Were you a big club person in school? Did you do all the clubs?
I did a few clubs because I did not drink in college
I guess you need something to
or
do then.
party very much. Like I went to one party and it was a bad time. And I was like, this is not for me. It was in a frat house. Everyone was it was very loud. The only good thing about it was that they were playing, they had a video running of Daft Punk's Interstellar 5555 playing on a projector.
Ooh.
The music video for Discovery, like that whole album has a associated movie.
Uh-huh.
And I enjoyed that, but the music was not that album. So that was upsetting.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just played the video.
Weird. This is wild stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't have, as far as I know, we don't have frat houses and stuff like that in Canada. So that is all very movies only for me.
Way to go. That's awesome.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I did not enjoy my time there. The floor was very wet.
Your description and stuff, it's very funny now to picture you at a frat house because of the way you carry yourself.
Oh yeah, I did not enjoy one moment of it. I went in there. I was just like, I guess I'll dance, I guess. I think you have to sit down in the back right.
How? I tried.
Face the chair and press X.
I am. Oh,
Oh, no, maybe you need to talk to Marcus on the left.
this guy, I thought I did.
That guy with the bandeezy. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I that was dubious. That was how I got my first kiss. It was not enjoyable.
Oh, no.
It was not enjoyable at
I did
all.
not expect it to go that way.
No, I didn't like it. I was in like a pre-college martial arts club thing. Like they let you come a week or two early and you got to take a class with like-minded people. And I met this person at the martial arts club thing.
Uh-huh.
She decided she wanted to kiss me, and I was.
Oh.
It was less me trying to be. I was kissed.
Whoa. You didn't use your martial arts to defend yourself?
It was
Too early. Too early in the class. They didn't do the anti-kissing moves.
No, they didn't. They didn't. It was a crowded dance floor. I would describe it less as a kiss and more as me defending my tonsils with my tongue. I was protecting. I was strictly on defense. And then I had the flu for a week. So that was great.
Really?
And then I had the flu.
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah. It was
Only-
miserable. Just
only
the worst
Gino.
experience. Like after it happened, I walked outside of the frat house to their backyard where people were very drunk. I was like, what am I doing? Never again.
You looked to the heavens.
Yeah.
and
What happened
said,
here?
Zidane, save me.
Yeah. And he didn't. So he would have been into it.
Into what? The party?
Well,
Saving you?
his whole thing in this game is he starts out as like a Casanova type.
Ah.
And So I think he would have been into that part. Maybe he wouldn't have gotten the flu. Who's to say?
I mean, he probably already had it. He'd be the one spreading it.
Yep, he's a monkey man, so who knows?
That is every step of that story, incredible. Thank you for sharing.
No problem. It was, I remember it vividly.
Yeah.
Like it was just yesterday.
I mean, that's
But-
like a quintessential college experience right there.
Yeah. And so after that, I just went into like, there was a video game club. I was in that. I was in
Perfect.
the martial arts club. That was fun. I got into pickup basketball, which is also very fun.
Fair.
From then on, that was how I killed my time instead of going to parties. Because, like, I don't know. I may drink if I like the taste of the drink sort of
Yeah.
person. And a lot of, like, college parties are people drinking things to get fucked up.
Oh, no, for sure.
And I had experiences like taking care of people who had been drunk in high school. And once you have those experiences, you're just like, why would I ever want to do this to someone else?
Yeah. If you are the type of person to care for someone like that, then you are less the type of person to leave other people in that situation, for sure. But to bring it back to video games just for a little bit before we wrap up.
Go right ahead.
What was more your speed then? Were you able to use video games to connect to people?
Yeah. I definitely, it became a great common language, you know, having these experiences to talk with others, you know, play games like this with other people. Obviously, like as someone who's gone on to freelance write and, you know, moderate for a video game site, I moderate for giantbomb.com. It's been a good shorthand, you know?
Right.
I've met a lot of people through gaming that I would not have otherwise. And it's taken me to cool places. Would not have met you.
It's true.
Without
We met
video
at
games.
PAX through Giant Bomb, or like because we were both fans of Giant Bomb, or we're in those same areas. That's how we
Yep.
ended up meeting. And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
No, it is continuing. You got to go apple picking with my wife, and I was not there.
That's true. That was fun though. We got
I
some
heard
good
it was
apples.
fun. I was with my friends at this house before they moved out, and I moved in. They had a crab apple tree in the backyard, so we sent Robin pictures of us in the snow picking crab apples, while you guys were in north. What do you call that? Upstate New York.
Upstate New York. Yeah.
Picking apples for reals.
Yeah. I think we were up in Fishkill, but yeah, it was. Have you gone apple picking before? Like, is that a thing in Canada?
I've not gone. I'm sure it's definitely probably a thing in BC. They would have apple orchards there, I'm sure, but not in Saskatchewan. Maybe we do. Actually, no. I think we do. I've never gone. No, this is not a normal thing for us to do.
Well, apple picking is just a weird experience to begin with. Speaking of video games, apple picking is a pretty weird experience because the actual picking of the apples is not actually that fun. Usually it's like a combination apple picking country store. Maybe they'll have some apple cider donuts. Maybe there's a band. You're mostly there for those things. And the apples are pretty secondary. That and just like picking things off the tree, biting it once and going, this apple's fine, and then throwing it on the ground. Like those are the number one things. What are you going to do with it?
Continue
They
to
charge
eat
you
it?
for the apples.
Well, yeah, why don't you eat it?
Because you can't eat that many apples.
Well, you can do it once and go, these apples are good, and then keep eating those apples.
Yeah,
that
but
just seems wasteful.
you got to sample. Like most orchards have like 10 to 15 variants of apples. You're going to eat, 15 different apples?
That's what you're there for.
Nah, you're trying to take them home. You sample them once, and then you throw it on the ground, and then you pick like 3. The ground is littered with apples.
What? Okay, maybe that's why I would be so offended if I went apple picking. You can't waste apples, take a bite, and throw it on the ground. What?
The real degenerates are the people who shake the branches.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, they played Animal Crossing, I guess.
True monsters. Because then all the apples just end up on the ground and no one picks them up off the ground.
Oh, fair.
That's a 0%.
Yeah, that's pretty rude.
Most people shake them and then, Mr. Morid. So this dude, he loves coffee. You can get him coffee from 3 different places. And if you get him coffee, he'll give you that airship toy. But then in the 4th disc, all the like PS1 FF games, in the last disc, they always find ways to like seal off places you've been before. because the fourth disc usually has so many cutscenes, they needed to reduce the number of locations you could go to. So this place gets destroyed by an earthquake.
Oh no!
And he dies.
Oh,
that old man. And depending on whether you got him coffee, he either dies sad or happy.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Zero Gil. What?
Yeah. If you get him his coffee, it's like we found him in the rubble.
With a big smile.
But he was smiling.
No. See, I think they went too far with that one.
Yeah.
Just make him live if you give him coffee.
This game goes hard in the paint.
Is this another gate? Oh, I'm never going to make it.
The gate's where you want to go.
Okay.
That's where you came from.
How did you feel about Final Fantasy VII Remake?
I am currently playing that, and it is dope.
You haven't beat it yet?
I haven't beaten it yet. So I didn't have a console capable of playing it
fair.
for a while, and I just got a PS5.
Oh, PS5, la-di-da. That game whips.
It does. It's so good.
I don't play long games a lot. I was like, I don't know if I want to play this. And I played the demo, and then by like halfway through the demo, I bought it and then played it for like a week straight. It was like 32 hours or something for me to beat it. I played for a week straight. Just could not stop playing it. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm up to the Shinra building.
Nice.
I don't know what happens in the end. I keep hearing that eventually they're going to fuck it up for me.
Well, it depends on how you feel. Did you?
Yeah.
I assume you played Final Fantasy VII.
I have. There weren't ghosts in that one.
Correct. It all makes sense if you like kind of squint. It makes sense in that way.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me, and don't tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but it seems to me like the ghosties are making sure that events take place the way they did in the original game. But some characters seem to know what happened in the original game and are winking and nodding at it.
No comment.
Good. Yo, you want to see one of the flyest motherfuckers in this game?
Yes.
Is cursing allowed in this? I forgot to say this.
Yes.
Cursing.
Yes,
Okay.
Cursing is loud.
If you go left through here, just go left, go down the stairs. Then when you go down the stairs that way,
These ones.
then if you go up, you're going to find, I think, Lady Stelazzi. I forget what her name is. It's like Stella or something. Just keep going straight up. She's a bird lady who wants you to get her fancy coins. Yeah, go into that place.
Alrighty.
Look at this lady.
Ooh.
Queen Stella. She's collecting star-shaped coins. Ah, give it to me and I'll give you a reward.
Hooray.
And if
She's
you
pretty
don't
fancy.
have coins for her, she kicks you out.
What fun. Yay, Zero Gil.
Yeah, if you
Yes.
keep giving, the more coins you give her, the more rewards you get.
Cool. It's a pretty fancy lady.
Yeah, and there's Dr. Tot soon. He's got a big nose, little glasses, big nose.
Classic.
Yeah, this game's got a lot of character to it. A lot of just
I can
like
see that, yes.
little charming interactions and stuff.
All right, to wrap up here, you're writing now. What did you go to school for? Did you go to school for English?
So I double majored. I was an English computer science double major and a Japanese minor.
Oh.
So there was a
Well,
reason for that.
I hope you were a Japanese adult by the time your wife married you.
We have fun. Yes. So I wanted to get into the game industry, and I figured I wanted to write, so I went with writing, like English, and then I figured no one actually hires people for just English.
Yeah.
I mean, for just writing, and so I should learn how to code. And then I learned how to code, and then I figured part of the industry is in Japan, so I should learn Japanese so that I could potentially, work in that market.
You're covering all the bases.
That was my thought process.
Jeez.
But then I, got a job at a regular coding job, and then realized that, oh yeah, the game industry is really precarious and it pays really poorly, and it's going to be hard for me to see my wife if I go into that. And I really like seeing her, so I mostly do game related stuff, freelance or, side hustle.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta make your choices at some point. And yes, not being in a precarious industry is nice.
Yeah, it's tough.
How much Japanese did you learn?
I lived in Japan for 2 summers.
What?
On a study abroad program.
What? Why didn't we get into this?
Sorry, I have a lot of stories. I'm a man of many mysteries.
Apparently, jeepers.
Yeah, I studied abroad there twice. I stayed with a host family, same host family both times, which was fun.
That's nice.
But yeah, I learned enough to get by. I was not like a great conversationalist, but I could read the street signs and could speak a little bit.
Cool.
But yeah, Japanese is tough, man.
Probably. But yeah, so you're writing stuff. What are you doing these days with your writing?
So right now I'm doing some freelance articles on the Final Fantasy trading card game, which you've seen me open those packs.
Yes, I did.
I've been writing some articles on the different deck macro archetypes for Mogpod Gaming. Been doing some articles for them recently.
Ooh.
Still doing my podcast, Deep Listens.
Yes.
People can check out. And you were on just recently to talk
I
about
was.
Control.
That game rips.
That game does rip.
It was very cool. Where can they find the Deep Listens podcast?
You can do so at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. That's the website where you can find it. We're also on, iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff. If you type in Deep Listens, you'll find us.
Sweet.
We just launched a new series called Off the Deep End, where some of our regular guests have started up their own book club that's off. What? You can walk over there? What?
Ta-da!
I've never gotten that ether before. I didn't know you could go over there. I always stayed on the beaten path.
I'm the real Final Fantasy IX champion. That's the secret all along. La 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 la.
What? Now you're going to tell me that you can go over to the right, too. You're going to tell me that you can go off the beaten path to the right.
I doubt it. There's no
Okay,
path
good.
to the right.
Yeah, there's nothing else. Okay, good.
I'll keep running in this grass. It looks like I'm frolicking.
See, me, a habitual rule follower, I never went off the beaten path.
Yeah. You've lived your extravagant life, but always on the path. So have you really lived?
That's a great point, And
we'll leave that as the question for everyone. Yes, you promoted your podcast and your writing. Where can people find you online if you wish to be found?
I am at That Pinguino on Twitter. You can find me there for the most part.
Is your last name Gino Grieco?
Grieco, yes. And yours is Canius.
Yes. I did not know you spell or pronounce the I and the E separately on yours. So
yeah, there's a lot of Grecos, and most people just give up. The best is when people try to pronounce my last name and they add syllables that just aren't there. Like I've heard Griecchio, and I'm like, where did you find? I know it's Italian looking, but come on. Yeah, the last name, I lucked out on the first name because I could have been Luigi.
Ooh, that would have been a sweet first name.
Yeah, I was named after both of my grandfathers, and my parents were thoughtful. They were smart and said, we can't have a person named Luigi in the year 1991.
Why not? Be a tastemaker, trend follower.
They didn't even know how much of a bullet they were dodging because they had never heard about Mario and Luigi.
Right. Thought they're wow, that was a close call.
Super close call. It would have been middle school and high school were rough enough with an Italian first name, last name, let alone Luigi. Come on.
Yes. That would have been extreme.
Yes.
But anyways, thank you for sharing your story, Gino. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you for checking out this very cool game. People should play it. Final Fantasy IX, it's a good one. Some would say the best one.
Some would say, certain Genos agree, Final Fantasy IX is the best one.
9 out of 10 Genos agree.
There you go. And thank you everyone for listening to The Personal History of Games. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye. You can hear more of The Personal History of Games on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help us out, please leave us a rating and review. For updates, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at PHOGPod, or check out our website at personalhog.com. The show is hosted and produced by Eric Canius, executive produced by Robin Lands. Do We Like is brought to you by Beamed Media, a Canadian podcast network.